What's up guys, back with another training log, week 1 of my new 12-week training cycle in the Canadian Nationals. So I'm going to break down what's new with my program, going over each of the big 3 and then accessories. Let's start with squats, where nothing changed. So I failed a 325 kilo squat at my competition before this past 12-week training cycle. I ended up hitting 347.5 kgs, and comparing it to speed of passing goals, I probably had another 10 kilos in the tank. So squats had real good progress. Don't fix what isn't broken. I think way too many people screw themselves over, program hopping from what works. I think a lot of powerlifting coaches feel the need to do something different, to seem like they're doing something, but sometimes the right thing is keep doing what you are doing already. Don't be neurotic, perfection is the enemy of progress. Now on bench, I had good progress too. I had hit 180 kilos in my last meet. I probably had a bit more in the tank. Maxed out at 200 kilos this time, so good progress. Main change is ditching singles until the very end of my training cycle. I made my previous long video about that, I'll link it below. The short summary is, I don't think the benefits were worth the fatigue, especially with my issues with shoulder injuries, which seem to be especially exacerbated by singles on bench. And on deadlifts, the change is too conventional. Well, one set on my secondary days, which may not sound like much, but hey, I don't do much deadlifting volume, so that's 1/6 of my working sets. The reason is basically to work my lower back bar. I want to try strengthening it up. I find my deadlift suffers on max days when I have to do squats first. My deadlift ends up way weaker than they feel on a normal training day when I'm fresh. It's just the low back specifically, my glutes and quads feel fine. Now, accessories, the only swap I made was T-bar row in place of seated cable rows in terms of exercises. It's more stable and I'm able to hit the traps more. I'm basically adding a bit more volume overall too. I find I have a lot more work capacity now than I did before. It could be the extra cardio paying off and also the caloric surplus. I'm slowly filling out the 120 kilo class. I gained about 8 pounds over last training cycle. Either way, I feel I can handle more, so adding it in. I'm also going to try and maximize hypertrophy as I go up in weight. Hypertrophy is also why I'm experimenting with creatine now. I've mentioned before how I didn't want to use it. I didn't want the water weight gain because I'm trying to stay under the limit for my weight class. But new research says it doesn't actually seem to be the case. You don't gain any water weight. Stronger by Science did a review on this that said creatine seems to increase muscle gains made by about 1/3, so that's huge. And I've actually been getting creatine from a company called Tasty Gains that are sponsoring me. They're a third-party tested company, which also matters to me. Many supplements are contaminated, including by banned substances, which can make you fail a drug test. There's many supplements that lie about their quantities in their supplements as well. These are tested at 1 gram per gummy by a third party. I also like gummies because I don't really like the texture of the powder in drinks. These are literally like Sour Patch Kids, they're good. I'll throw my Tasty Gains referral link in the description if you want to try a bottle. They're 25 cents per gummy with the subscribe and save, which you can cancel at any time. It can help with reaching your goals for New Year's. Now, I wouldn't endorse this company if I didn't genuinely like their product after trying it. Like, I got a protein bar company sending me their stuff in a paid sponsorship offer, and oh my god, it was the worst goddamn thing I've ever tasted. You know how people say that peanut butter sticks to your mouth? This was like that, but times 10. It was like tacky to my teeth. It hurt to pull off, and they tasted like ass on top of that. I also got a good offer from Let's Get Checked, which I ended up not doing because they couldn't actually give me a blood test because they weren't licensed in Canada anymore where I am. So I was like, I'm not gonna lie and be like, yeah, I love this service, which I couldn't even use. Anyways, that's what I had to say about my training this week. Haven't done day 6 yet because I'm recording this after day 5, coaching at a meet tomorrow after my workout. New program felt good, except for conventional that felt about as bad as those protein bars tasted. Didn't feel sore, which is good for week 1, except for my abs from tricep extensions, oddly enough. Now on to the Q&A portion of this video. Comment more questions you have below. First question is, what is your height? 5'11". I do get this question a lot, so I want to say it. 6 foot in squat shoes though. Next question, speaking of squat shoes, is about flats versus heels. Now for the most part, I actually find this personal preference. I do think heels can be better for somebody who really lacks ankle mobility or who has really long legs and thus needs some help hitting depth. But for most people, I find there isn't an easy way to tell which one will feel better versus the other. Some just find their midfoot balance is better with heels or with flats. You can test each and see. Now, one mistake I see a lot of people do is say switch from flats to heels for a few weeks, and it feels off at first, but they get used to the groove. Then they switch back to their flats, and they're like, wow, flats feel awful. These are way better squatting than heels. No, you just got used to one of the different grooves. If one is truly better than the other, you'll probably be able to tell very quickly. That goes for a lot of form changes. You might just be getting used to the form change. It might not actually be better. The next question I got is how many training cycles to do per year? Well, in part for me, it depends on my meet timing. Like, I have 24 weeks between my 2 meets here, which is long for one training cycle. That's why I broke it up into 2. I generally find around 3 to 4 per year is good. That's long enough to see solid progress and actually test out your program, make sure it's working. It isn't maxing out too often, taking away from time you could be building and also taxing your body from actually going to maximal weights. And it isn't too long where you don't get motivated because you aren't waiting so long for a max out. And also, if something in your training cycle isn't working out, you don't want to be doing that too long. You want to be able to test, see if it's working, and if it's bad, you can replace it with something better. Next question I got is about why I don't lock out my elbows when I bench. So basically, I focus harder on scapular retraction, which is going to cut some range of motion, but this also means it's going to be a bit harder to fully lock out the elbows. Now, I don't think this is an issue personally. I mean, if I consciously focus on it, I can do it no problem, and I don't struggle near lockout. My issue is near the chest. My triceps are already going to be worked fully. They're doing most of the range of motion, plus my isolation work goes way harder than bench does. I don't really see it as an issue. The only issue it could be is in the meet conditions, but I've never had an issue getting the start command from soft elbows or getting the rack command or full red lights for fully locking out. So really, not an issue to me. Anyways, that's it for the video this week, guys. Again, comment more questions down below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And once again, thanks for watching.